Welcome, dear ones. I am Sonia, the host of the Treasures You podcast. Realizing that consciousness is emerging, its infrastructure network of illusion, we are the architects, spiraling in our own legacy throughout the infinity, bearing witness, reflecting, and visualizing this unadulterated existence into a manifested reality. Life is infinite, and so are you. And this is the treasure is you. Welcome, 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 dear ones. How is everyone feeling? I hope all is well, and I hope that you are appreciating this present moment. Well, today on the Treasure is You podcast, I would like to welcome back Antonia, the author of Dismantling the 3D Dimension, Transforming Our Trauma on the Road from Tribe to Collective. But first, I would like to give a brief description of Antonia. She is a registered psychotherapist with graduate degrees in counseling, psychology, and international development. She is a certified Ayurvedic counselor, meditation teacher, and yoga instructor. So, again, I would like to welcome you back to the Treasure is You podcast. Would you like to say anything to our listeners?
Only thank you, Sonia. It's lovely to be here with you again.
Yes, it is lovely. I love doing this. I love connecting with like minded people, and especially when we can bring awareness to the masses. A lot of times people are in a fog, they are not aware of what's happening to them. So,
I sure wasn't. Yeah. I sure had to work hard to get to a more seeing place and still need others to help me see what I'm still not seeing, I'm not aware
right.
of. Yeah.
Right. Yes. I really enjoy this platform because we are bringing awareness. Because, as I said, people at times are unaware, and like we need each other.
I think we do. I think that's part of it is to recognize our interdependency and our connectivity, bringing awareness to that for sure.
Yes, absolutely. So, again, I love what we're doing, and we're shedding some light out into the world. So, first, I would like to say that I read your book, and it is very deeply informative representation, of course, of your experiences, which as a whole, because we are all connected, I've seen myself in this book, and I know others may see their self in this book as well, because as I said, we are all connected. And I noticed that is what your book was shedding some light so people can understand what is happening to them. So, can you share with the viewers some of the things that was happening to you?
Yeah, absolutely. It almost happened overnight. I remember sitting in my office back in 2006 and this thought came over me. It was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. This
Mm-hmm.
is not what I'm meant to be doing. And I'd never really had that kind of thought, feeling before. It was more of a feeling. And then shortly after that, for the next couple of years, things just started to spin. It was like a Wizard of Oz kind of thing. And what I ultimately understood is that energy started to move. And as energy started to move, it started to clear out, move
Mm-hmm.
out a lot of a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. And
Right.
suffering from things I'd experienced in this lifetime as a child, but also suffering that I'd never identified with, suffering that I had no idea even existed, suffering that was not connected to any experiences or any pain. So, and I didn't know where it was coming from. So I gradually started to recognize I think that we hold pain from our ancestors' pain. We've been living in thousands of years of pain. And when we start to increase energy, which is consciousness, which is awareness, we start to shed the dark, unaware pain in our body. And that's what what started to go on very rapidly and still goes on to this day. And then as
Right.
pain moved out, awareness moves in, a new knowing moves in, and with it comes a new reality.
Right, right. Yes. I just, as I said, from reading your book and now knowing you, I want to know the beginning, or if you want to call it the beginning, because who knows really what the beginning is on our journey.
Yeah.
I think it's more awareness. You're more aware
Yeah.
on certain parts of your journey, but the journey has always been the journey, right?
Mhm.
I want to ask you, I was reading in your book and you said this was a part, and you can correct me. You said it was an instructional dream and you saw a lady with long brown hair and she was in a circle, I believe, and she said the word and you never heard it, Ayurveda.
Yep.
So you didn't know what that was. So can you explain to the viewers that part of your journey?
Yeah, that was, probably within a year and a half of all the weird stuff starting to happen, and I've
Mhm.
never had, like, anything so clear. I always had the very painful dreams and the weird stuff happening and,
Mhm.
all of the emotional trauma coming to the surface in my dreams. So it was my first sort of very clear, crystal clear, instructional dream, and as you said, it was an early morning dream, and there was a circle of women, and one whipped around in the office chair and very clearly said Ayurveda. And I said, "What?" And she said, Ayurveda. And I said, "Okay." And then I woke up and I was shaken. It felt
Uh-huh.
very strange. And I started to
Right.
cry. And I didn't know why I was crying, except I knew something big had come in. And I went right over to my laptop and was crying and plugged it in and spelt it all wrong. And
Mhm.
there it was, the called Kaish. It was the Center for Ayurveda and Indian Systems of Living, and it was the
Right.
only Ayurvedic school in Canada, and it was 4
Mm.
subway stops away.
Wow.
It was right there. So I snuck on over and kinda, said, "So what are you about? What are you doing?" And learned that Ayurveda is the oldest healthcare system in the world.
Yes.
And one of the principles of Ayurveda is to bring you, the individual, and your unique constitution into balance.
Yes.
And that uses the elements of earth, right? Our nature and
Mhm.
actually everything around us in order to assist you in bringing you into states of balance, including and primarily through food and through herbs, but also through exercise and ways of breathing and ways of moving. And then it was through that teacher that I found out what Kundalini was. I didn't know what Kundalini and Kundalini awakening was. I had no idea. But she was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, yes, your Kundalini's rising." And I'm like, "What is happening? What does that mean?"
Yeah, what is this?
And then I later found out that Ayurveda is considered the healthcare system to assist people who are waking up, to assist them through this process, to help them
Mhm.
move into quieter states. Because when we move the body into quieter states, we move the mind into quieter states, then we allow and we can surrender into the bigger energies of consciousness to come in and connect us to the whole.
Yes.
So it was all kind of, I was led by the nose, and whether I led myself, right,
Mhm.
a higher part of me or something else, it took years to try and figure out who's doing this. Either
Right.
way, there was a bigger intelligence leading this body through a
Right.
process of healing and expansion.
Wow.
Beautiful. It was
That
beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
as you say those words, I mean, I can actually feel the
Mhm.
healing. I can
Mhm.
feel, like, peace. I can feel what you're saying through your words.
So
Yes.
good.
Yes, really.
Mm,
I just, for me, I a lot of what I have learned through my healing process, which, I'm continuously healing, is, yeah, I resonate with the, Ayurvedic, system of balancing and learning about your body composition and
mhm.
relating, like you said, of the elements, and it's a combination. It's not just one way. We
Mhm.
have to learn about eating better. Like you said, everything is a balance.
Mhm.
And like I can share with you as a child, I always knew like that was one word that just my higher divine self would always say to me is balance. Like that word always, balance.
Mm.
So for me, I resonate with Ayurveda because of what you just said. It's
Mhm.
helping humanity, all of us, to come into balance holistically, not
Mhm.
just exercising, but your mind, your emotions,
Mhm.
what you're eating,
Mhm.
the whole spectrum.
Everything, absolutely all elements of self, right, are to be brought in under kind observation and brought into a state of balance, which is a state of quiet, where
Yeah.
nothing's roaring or poking at you, right? It just
Yes.
flows with the intelligence of this planet and with the universe. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to backtrack now and have you share with the viewers and the listeners how before you okay, your existence before this traumatic shift in your life, like you were a person that was you had no like comprehension or of like religious settings. Like, can you share that with some of the viewers? Because a lot of people, they would not believe it because they're like, you were totally a different person. You didn't even have these concepts.
No, not beyond an into maybe some I mean, some of it was an intellectual,
Okay.
like I read a lot and my
Mhm.
family around the table, would discuss things from a more of a political perspective,
Right, a political.
or intellectual perspective, but the word God never came up in the house. Even
Right.
though I went to I went to a Hebrew school because my
Mhm,
father was Jewish and I went
mhm.
to Christian schools because they wanted me to see different faiths and stuff. But it was in school that we didn't really discuss the faith of it too much. It was just about the practice and understanding things intellectually. And I spent most of my life just in academia, going through getting degree after degree after
Right,
degree, because that's how I saw myself as accomplishing and contributing to the world. If I
right,
knew more and did more, then I could contribute more, I could fix more, I could rescue more, I could be more powerful and create good change in the world. So by getting smarter and smarter and more powerful in whatever I was doing. So
right.
that was my framework and what I was rewarded for. Next degree, I mean, my mother wept when I first graduated, right? The first one
Mhm.
in her side of the family finally go to university. So it had lots of meaning behind
Right,
it.
right,
But I had
right.
nothing. I had nothing. And so when it started to happen, I was I was truly utterly terrified. And I remember talking to it was funny because I had a friend of mine and she used to sell Himalayan salts. And she said, well, we're going to sell our salts at the psychic fair. And I was like, psychic fair? Like, my dignified self was not going to go to psychic fair. But there was something that pinged and said, I think I'm supposed to be there. And why am I
Right,
I'm supposed to be there? I've never thought I'm supposed to be anywhere in my life. And so I went with her and I met this psychic. And he later told me it's like you're this wolf running through the snow, scared. And he said, what are you so scared of? Like, just everything's just fine. But I was so terrified of all the changes and
right,
the energy and the intuition and all of the new ways people were talking to me. It was utterly terrifying. And at the same time, very inspiring. And I was so curious. I couldn't
mhm,
talk about it because I knew nobody around me who could talk in that language. I had nobody around me. I had nobody to go talk to.
right,
Ayurveda and going to school to study Ayurveda helped. It started to bring in a bit of a community as I was going through big changes. They
right,
understood it. But other than that, I was sort of this met with this big magic and wonder and this terror. Is it really happening? Am I fooling myself? Am I insane? I constantly
right,
am I crazy?
right.
Constantly,
Yes,
all the time. Am I going crazy? Who do I check in with? Like, I can't tell anybody because they'll think I'm going crazy, right?
yes,
Yeah, it was absolutely terrifying and magical. And I felt both all alone and connected at the same time.
yes,
It was,
yes.
yeah, it was wondrous and terrifying. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, what you just said, I totally relate. I totally,
Wow.
totally, totally relate because throughout my journey too, I would say, "Am I crazy?" What's just like I'm serious. I would say that. I would say, "What's going on? I would literally say what you said. I would. But then my higher self would say, "Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going in the right direction. No, you're not crazy." And then my higher self always brings humor and joy in it.
Yeah.
Laugh. There's always light in everything.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah, my divine self is like, "Okay, laugh at that. Laugh at yourself." And I've learned to laugh at myself a long time ago. But when sometimes if some energy does get stuck, my divine knowing would bring this comical portion out of what was tragic and lighten it up.
yeah.
Because yeah, because that is what we don't suppose to be, like, so serious, we're supposed to lighten up, so I learned that, and I wanted to ask, was it 2006? Why am I getting that? Was it 2006 that you had this major shift?
That it started. Yeah. Yeah, it started. I mean, it's still going on today.
Yeah, yeah, of
Really,
course.
it's a big accelerated process that I've been going through, and it doesn't want to slow down, especially up here where I live. It's really hard on the body, so it feels like I'm fighting with it all of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was 2006 when it sort of popped.
yeah.
When I started to realize there's something happening here. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I read too in your book that you went to, I don't know if he's a psychotherapist, Remsky, something?
Matthew Remski. Yeah.
Yes, and he said, "You are a shaman." Yes. So can you elaborate and share with the viewers like that, that portion?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he Matthew Remski at the time had a his own yoga studio, and he taught Ayurveda,
Mhm.
and he also was an Ayurvedic psychotherapist. And so I went to him because I felt he was somebody who could understand me, and he did. He understood me probably more than I did at the time because I was still
Right,
in the what the heck's happening kind of
right.
space, right? And so one of the things that Ayurvedic therapists can do is they will read your Ayurvedic astrology chart.
Right.
And in reading that, they practice what's called Jyotish, and
Yes.
practicing Jyotish, they get sort of I don't understand it very well. So they refer to it to get a sort of a background on you and a bigger picture. And the bigger picture was one of them was you're a shaman and you bubble with fire. And I don't think I was rude to him in that moment, but in my head, I'm like what the bleep is this man talking about?
Yeah.
Right? So, because I really didn't understand what shaman was and what shaman
Right.
is, and I still
Yes.
don't refer to myself as a shaman, but what he's referring to is I use my own body to transmute stuck at blocked low frequency energies into high frequency energies. That's what my body does, and he identified it right away. But it took me years to figure out what he was talking about. Years.
Mhm, mhm.
I had no
Wow. So
idea.
that to me was amazing to hear, and when I read it, I was like, I was relating, I
Mhm.
was relating because I was told as well that I am a shaman. So, yeah,
Mhm.
so to read that, like I said, it resonated with me, and, I'm trying to think, something just went out of my head I wanted to say. Let me see right here. I wanted to discuss, I believe it's chapter 1, and you were giving some exercises and some type of practices that could help people if they were experiencing ancient pain or any type of trauma. If you can, give them some examples of things that they could do to help relieve them.
Yeah, I think I think there's lots of things. One is, where you are geographically, you might experience it differently.
Right. Okay.
So that's one thing. If you're near the ocean, it's going to be a bit easier. If you're in the mountains, it's going to be a bit easier. If you're in a really hot region in the planet, it's probably going to be easier because these things help it move through your body.
Right.
If you're in a
So
stickier, sorry, go ahead, Sonia.
yeah, I'm sorry too. Because I had some notes and I just wanted to just to help people because like you and myself, in the very beginning, we don't really know what's happening to us. So
Yeah.
we seek out people that at least they know more beyond the physical. Was he a psychotherapist or was he
Hmm.
an Ayurvedic counselor?
Both.
He was both. Okay. So like he helped you put some of the pieces together
Yeah.
so you can understand.
He could, yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit better. Yeah, I don't think he understood, but he understood a little. He understood this, and then you find somebody else, and they might understand
right.
because all
Yes,
of
like
our journeys are unique too,
yes.
right? So, because I couldn't find anybody who'd gone and experienced the same thing in the same way I had, but I could find maybe every once in a while find somebody who could explain an element of it.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
it is, and the thing is, it's much easier now than when this was happening to me. All of this social media and online communications is providing information.
Yes, it
Now I
is.
don't think the information's out there. Now I think it's more about being discerning.
Mhm, mhm.
What information really suits you and resonates with you. So meditating on information that's coming in, trying to connect to your intuition. Is this for me or is this for somebody else? I think is
Right.
really important when you're going
Yes.
through something like this. Because
Yeah.
even though we're moving to a higher frequencies, we still have our pain, and pain leads people to do painful things. And sometimes
Yes.
really, so we have to be very discerning about what we're
Yeah.
bringing in to assist us or to reveal to us, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree that we definitely have to be discerning.
Yeah.
We
And in the
do.
end, it's all going to happen because it's supposed to anyway. We don't need to have a lot of fear in there, right? If we find
Right.
somebody in our space that shouldn't be there, then it's our practice to get it out. So,
Right,
uh,
right.
but being discerning is, I think, important.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I wanted to ask you as well, can you explain or share with the viewers and listeners one experience of the pain that you like you said you were doing yoga and your body would contort or would contract or you would be in pain out of nowhere.
Yeah, I remember quite a few times getting ready to do yoga, and I would stop before getting on the mat, and I would literally like circle it like a lion circling its near dead prey, like
Mhm.
just watching it. Like you can't make me go down there because I knew there was something, that was not going to feel good was going to come up. So I'd end up on the
Really?
mat and move my body, which would loosen something. And then your body's just filled with, or mine was, tremendous discomfort, body. And all of that physical discomfort is really contracted emotional discomfort. So you're feeling
Mhm.
the emotions through your body of fear or rage or shame as it's
Right.
moving through, and you're trying not to think too hard about it because you don't want your mind to make a story up about it. You just want it to move through.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, the body would, I'd often go into seizures. Sometimes there'd be so much energy moving, so much suffering through that I'd move into seizures or have to move or stretch in a certain way in order to help push that discomfort through.
Wow.
And then it always end in a big giant cry, just or a
Wow.
sob or a scream or something. The body's detoxing through tears, right? Because
Yes.
we detox
Yes.
through tears and yawning and laughing, or hysterical laughing would often happen. Just the emotions would then have to find their way
Wow.
out. And
Yeah.
whew, and then eventually a sense of peace after the body completely detoxed. Yeah.
Wow. So how often was it frequent the seizures or you know
It varied. They still happen today, actually.
wow.
It depends. Up here, I get them. I don't get them when I'm like in the south or on the
Mhm.
ocean. It doesn't happen because that can help the energy move
Mm,
through.
right, right.
It's a couple times a week normally where it can be that big where you lose control of your body
Mhm,
as it's
mhm.
just trying to get all that energy and all that ancient toxicity out.
Right, right. Yes. That's amazing that you say that because I have a daughter and she has I don't know how frequent she has seizures because she's very private, but she did experience when she was younger and she was at a concert and the concert, she was right by the speaker. I think it was too much for her. And I believe this was like a sign from her body. Like she went through like a seizure at the concert. And I didn't know about this until afterward, like maybe almost a half a year later, because she doesn't like to share these things.
Mm,
So I'm just thinking, wow, maybe her body, I don't know if she was um some pain was coming to the surface, or I think it's a combination of where she was, her body. It was like, okay, you don't need to be here. Like she was right by a speaker. Like it was disturbing her peace. You
of
see what I'm
course.
saying?
Yeah.
So I know that our body, and you know it too as well, will give you indications and signs that, okay, you need to leave from here, or you need to stop this, or you need to do that.
Yeah. Or
And
get
yes,
this out. Or
yes. So I know that she had a seizure, and I was really concerned and trying to figure out that, because that's me. I'm always trying to figure out, I get to the root of, okay,
yeah.
why did this happen? Because I know it's a message. Like everything is a message to me, because why would you get it, right? Why would you experience it?
Yeah. There's something to be learned there, something to be known. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what else I want to share? And you can put your input into what I'm going to share is I know quite a few people, and including myself, who have gone through a experience that like the medical, like you went to your doctor, they could not explain what happened to you. I know people who were in the hospital for like a week, and like somebody, they had a fever. This is one example. This person I know had a fever of like, I don't know, 102. But guess what? They did every test in the book that they knew to do, and there was nothing that they came up with. So
Yeah.
then that person stayed, like I said, in the hospital for a whole week, and they just kept doing tests, all kind of tests, and it was nothing. They could not find not one thing. So this, for me, from reading your book and learning what you have experienced, I feel like whatever they were experiencing, I think it was trying to come to the surface,
Mhm.
because here in the physical reality, we can only, they practice certain treatments, but they did everything that they could do and they could not find out. I mean, the person's temperature did go back to normal. And then I think they were having some kind of stomach issues. But I'm feeling like, because they could not find out what that was, that I feel like that was something like surfacing, like some detoxing
Mm.
from the body, and they
Mhm.
couldn't explain it. And I've seen
Mhm.
this with several people. Like they go in the hospital and they cannot find out why this happened to them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
Because uh-huh.
more and more, I think as people, who are meant to be moving through the awakening or an expansion, and their
Mhm.
bodies are going through a lot of detox,
Right.
we're going to be experiencing the immune system kick in as it's trying to release toxins. And so we're going to be having symptoms
Yes.
of this detoxing that the mainstream allopathic healthcare system does not recognize.
Right.
So, and I happened many times. I've had an ambulance here with, my naturopath recommended high doses of melatonin, and I took 10 IU. Was that the dosage of melatonin? And something happened. I could feel something switching in my brain,
Mhm.
and blood pressure plummeted and sweats, and I was sure I was going to pass right out. It felt just terrible.
Mhm.
And my husband called an ambulance. They came over. It had moved through. They came over, read my blood pressure. Blood pressure was better than his. It was amazing. Talked to my naturopath, and she thought, well, probably we might have, because melatonin also helps in decalcifying the pineal gland.
Right.
So that was probably a release from the pineal gland. I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't have an X-ray. We don't have tools to measure that. I don't.
Right.
I don't have them. So these things can happen more and more. I think
Yes.
when you're releasing stuff that we don't understand full, I don't have a mind to understand 90% of what's happening in me. I don't know what's going
Right.
on a lot of the time.
Right.
I do think we do maybe need to find a balance between checking out with the mainstream and then going to the complementary, right?
Yes, I
And following our
agree.
intuition so that we cover both bases to make sure.
Right.
But to recognize that in detox, we're going to get immune system responses. I know that I'm in my osteopaths and massage therapists and naturopaths off constantly trying to keep my body functioning as it's releasing all of these toxins. It's not a very happy body.
Right.
There's a lot of symptoms and stiffness and inflammation that comes up. There's a lot of gut problems and joint problems as stuff kind of is trying to work through. So I make sure that I have a good complement of people and I'm not the only one investigating what's happening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. I definitely agree
Mhm.
because like you say, you don't know what's happening a lot
Mm,
of the time.
mm.
So, but, as long as you, to the best of your ability, keep a balance of, what you're eating and all that stuff, and
Mhm.
just be open and allow whatever is trying to detox from you. Because
Correct.
you see, now you're more aware that a lot of that
Exactly.
is
Mhm.
happening,
Yeah.
whereas before you weren't. You
Yeah.
didn't know. You had
Yeah.
no comprehension of, what's happening here. You had no comprehension of all these like metaphysical and energetic things
Nothing.
happening. Yeah,
Nothing. Yeah.
because we weren't taught any of that stuff. So,
No. No, I had to learn it and be careful while I was learning it so that
yeah,
I wouldn't. Yeah. Yeah. I had to be aware and cautious, but open.
discerning, like you said, discerning.
Learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we share with some of the viewers some things to help quiet the mind, to help bring a little more peace into the body, as such as yoga, and there's other practices that people can incorporate in their life that can help
Mhm.
them to quiet their mind and be more at peace.
Yeah, the 2 are would be, uh, an a way of exercising that suits your constitution.
Right.
Not everybody should be running.
No.
Not everybody should be doing Pilates. Not everybody
Mhm.
should be doing weight training.
Mhm.
So to find out what works for you and maybe multiple types of exercise, some are going to stretch the muscles so that you loosen up tensions in the body. Some are going to be building strength. So find out a good exercise that works for you because when we exercise and we sweat, then we release the toxins. Those
Yes.
toxins out of the body are not pinging with the mind. They're not talking to the mind. So the more that we keep releasing tensions from the body, the quieter the mind will be. And
Mhm.
number
Mhm.
2 is meditation, meditation, meditation.
Right, right. I just started doing, it's called Tai Chi Cha. I just started that and I absolutely love it.
Beautiful.
It is really, it will shift everything. And that's what I need. Like for me, I need it because I tend to be, or I used to be, I don't want to say impulsive, but like I react. There we go. I was a reactor. Yes, I was. And I catch myself now because I have a lot of fire in my body, that fire energy.
Yep.
But yes, this Tai Chi Cha is called. And I just started it and I already felt like a shift in my energy. So I only did one class. It's a series of 7 classes. So I'm excited about just doing that because I know that it's going to help me just go deeper and help me to have that peace and calmness,
Yeah.
you
Those are like
know?
the moving meditations too, right? The Tai Chis and the Qigongs and the yoga. I think we
Yeah.
all need to have our moving they move our bodies, but they move our energy bodies as well. And we
Yes.
really
Yes. Yes, I think that's very, especially for people who are seeking and desiring to have balance, in your life. I think some of these, what I just said and what you said, they will definitely add to your life and help you to bring in a balance.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because, as I said, my higher self as a child has always told me that's what it's about. It's about balance. So we cannot be affected and we cannot be distracted by everything around us, because once we do be distracted, then that's what throws us off.
Mhm.
It throws you off, and then next thing you know, you're going down this path because you were distracted.
Mhm.
But guess what? This is how brilliant all of this journey of life is. Even that distraction, that path you went down, is you're going to learn from it. You
Correct.
see? So I learned that there's no wrong and right to
No such
anything.
thing.
It
Yeah.
really isn't. There's no right or wrong, wrong or right.
Mhm.
There's That doesn't even exist in my world from what I have learned.
Mhm. Yep.
Once you go down that path and you're like, okay, you learn whatever it is, and then you incorporate it if you need it,
Correct.
right? Instead of
Mhm.
blaming or thinking, I got to be right. No, no,
Mhm.
there's none of that. That's what I have learned. So,
Just awareness, just bringing some other thing into awareness. That's it.
yes,
All.
yes. And another thing I want to share is, I would say I have a group of people, we call ourselves soul sisters, which, because I really feel we are soul sisters. And I said, there is a difference of knowing and actually having that knowing, like becoming it. You can know so much, but if you don't incorporate that knowing into your being, what good is it? See
Mhm.
what I'm saying? You know it, but you're not doing it. You're not, or shall I say, you're not being it. I don't want to say doing. You're not being it.
Yep.
You see, it's the mind. You know it, but you're not being it. You're not being that example of
Yeah.
what you know,
Mhm. Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, because if you don't like balance that, as I said, what good is it to know instead of being it? Just be what you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, that really shifts, and it changes everything in your life.
Mhm.
Because guess what? As we spoke on the last podcast, it's like you're being a model. You're modeling what you know by being it.
Mhm.
You're not teaching nobody, you're just being it. And
Mhm.
people see you being love, being compassionate, and
Mhm.
they're like, "Wow," because they see your light. They
Mhm.
see your light. And
Yeah.
it's not like, "Oh, I'm trying to tell them to do this," because no, we don't wanna tell them, we want them to see our light.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think that's something that rang in my mind, because I believe I went through a phase where it's like, "Oh, I'm trying to tell people this," and I'm like, "No, no, no, I'm not
Mhm.
supposed to be telling them to do this. They have to just see it through me or see it through another person, and then they can add whatever they need to their life to become balanced and light."
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely, which is why we sharing ourselves, I think, is so important in assisting ourselves to open up new channels of being. We keep sharing our experiences and sharing ourselves, I think.
Yes, yes, that's
Mm.
the the best. That is like, that's why I say it's so brilliant, this amazing journey that we are all on, this amazing journey that we are witnessing, that we
Mm.
are reflecting, right? That we're creating. We are
Create.
creating it.
That's exactly it.
So, yeah, once you slow down and realize you don't have to react. Yeah, that was me. I was a reactor. Yes, I was. And you just sit back and allow your divine essence to guide you wherever you need to go, so you can learn and be that light that you are. You're already the light.
Mhm. You're
Right?
here. Beautiful.
Yes, it's just amazing once once you can reflect and just allow
Mhm.
instead of resist, that's another thing,
Yeah.
resistance, right?
Mm. Yeah, and
It's
I think that's an important point, which is when I try and communicate is we don't wanna resist the discomfort, we want to allow it so it can move through. We want to allow it, but not believe it.
right.
Allow it, don't push against it, but don't believe it, and then that's when it starts to move through. We bring light in to help move it out of our reality,
Mhm,
increase
mhm.
our creative potential.
Yes. So we're going to wrap it up now, but I want to share and I want you to share because just, your book, it was an amazing book because you share your experiences. As I said, we're connected. So I know that whoever reads the book will find themselves in it in some shape or form, not exactly what you went through because we're uniquely different,
Mhm.
but towards the end of your book, I believe the last chapter, you said it's not real. Like it is not it's not real. Like everything we are experiencing is not
Mhm.
real.
No.
It's not real,
Yeah.
but we go through it, right?
Until we get to the place of, "Ah, right, none of this is actually real." Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we're doing. We're stripping it
Yeah.
all away. Yeah.
Yes. And that, yeah, that right for me. I mean, I resonated with that, what you said at the end. Because if we believe certain things and we create these characters in our lives, and that's what it's going to be.
Correct.
Right. And then when we get back to our true and
Mm,
authentic essence, we see that none of that was real.
correct. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That is the beauty in us. I just thought that was for me beautiful. And some people, if you're not there, you might be like upset, because you're not there. But once you get there, you're like, wow, it's like everything opens up.
It's a freedom, eh? It's the
It
ultimate
is a
freedom when you come
freedom.
to understand, "Oh, you mean all of this none of this drama is actually really happening?"
Right.
It makes it a little bit easier to free yourself from these ancient dramas and traumas of fear, rage, and shame we've been recycling from
Yeah.
generation after generation.
Yes.
We don't have
Recycling.
to hold them anymore. We can let them go, and we are right now more than ever
Yes.
as we wake up from this non-reality. Mhm.
Yes. Ah, it's so beautiful. I mean, it is beautiful. I say beautiful a lot because it is beautiful. It is
Mm,
absolutely just marvelous once you know and you can reach that state of
mhm.
freedom. You
Yeah,
just freed yourself from that narrative that you, like you said, recycling.
yeah.
Like you just keep recycling that narrative that's
Mhm.
whatever, depressive, traumatic, painful,
Fearful.
fearful,
Mhm.
anxiousness,
Mhm.
all of that.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah,
freed yourself.
yeah. Yeah, we need to get it out of our bodies, but I think a number one step is to go, "Oh, you're just a story in my body that's playing with my mind." Okay, that's I think is an initial step for it start to literally dislodge from our beings and therefore our realities.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Okay, my dears, we are going to wrap it up right now. But as I always say, before we wrap it up, Antonia, would you like to say anything? Any last words?
Ah, a joy, a pleasure. Anybody has any questions, wants more information, feel free to reach out. And I send everybody lots of compassion, kindness, and love.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I do the same because I feel that that is something that we need to send out so people can at least feel lighter and brighter and at peace and balanced. Yes. So a lot of these things that you may be going through, just realize, dear ones, that there is light in every circumstance. Realize that. And whatever you're going through it to learn and to become better because you're getting back to your natural essence, which is love, which is light. You are a light in this world. That's why you're listening to this podcast because we are connecting with other people that are lights. That's what we're doing. So continue to enjoy the rest of your day, be in the present moment, and always remember that the treasure is you. Take care and namaste.